And here we are.
Where? Howdy. Big old country howdy to you. Welcome back to Leitner and Laslavic. Leitner and Laz. Everybody knows that name, Laz. I think that's fascinating. Actually, that's fascinating. You stop 10 San Diegans and say, "Who's Laz?" They wouldn't know it was Jim Laslavic. I think when you've got that, man, that's because you made it big time, and I mean that. And I really mean that. Former NFL linebacker with the Detroit Lions and the San Diego Chargers, and finishing up with the Green Bay Packers. I have been here in San Diego, for those of you listening, watching outside the San Diego community, which we love dearly, as we humbly call America's finest city. And as Muhammad Ali said, if it's true, it ain't bragging. So it happens to be true that we are America's finest city, and not just by climate and amazing weather, but by people. And with that in mind, we'll be talking here for about an hour about whatever comes to our minds and your mind. You're cordially invited to email or text to producer Joe. That's Joe Nelson, who is working hurt today, sick, but still on the job, punching that time card, not calling in sick. And you know what fascinates me? My mom worked full time, got up every morning at 5, and whatever the weather, would take a bus to the train and the train to Manhattan from the suburbs of New York, work all day and reverse that project, come back the same way and make dinner almost every single night. And during all of those years, because my parents did not sleep in their own bedroom, we didn't have a lot of money, so we had a little 2-bedroom apartment. And so my brothers and I were in the bedrooms, and they had a convertible sofa that they would open up at night, and that would be their bed in the living room.
Wow.
At not one time in my entire childhood did I get up for school and my mom was still in bed, as in a cold, a flu, whatever. Not once.
It's true for me too. They were remarkable people. My dad worked in the steel mills. He got a pin, Teddy. I'll tell the story. He got a little pin, and I have it. I'm happy to say I have it. And it was to commemorate 35 years of perfect attendance in the steel mills. And they gave him a stinking little pin. Is that unbelievable? He didn't miss a day of work. Never had a sick day. Never had a sick day.
That's work. But don't tell me they weren't sick, because they were sick.
Yeah.
And between, just like when you play football, people would say they're hurt or they're injured, and you guys have a mindset where one does not mean the other. That I'm hurt, but I'm not injured. I'm hurting, but I'm playing.
The other part of that motivation, Ted, and be truthful, the other part of that motivation is you get somebody behind you who's pretty good.
Always.
And you don't want him to have the playing time. You don't want him to be on film, and then they're going to look at that. Oh yeah, this guy, we can. And but so that was part of the motivation too.
I think it's part of it.
With your teammates.
Yeah, it's part of it, but it's also that mindset of I got to play for my team. They expect me to be there, and I have to be there. And yes, there might be some, depending on how you're on your skill level. There could be somebody pushing me. Don't the old Satchel Paige. Don't look behind you. Somebody be gaining on you. The old Negro League superstar, and that was his line. Don't be looking behind. So that's true. But the mentality, though, that they can depend on Laz, and he would not just go out because he got a little twinge there in the side. That used to drive Jerry Coleman crazy during the modern day when we were broadcasting, and somebody would leave and they would put in the notes that he had a twinge in his side. Yeah. And Jerry would say, how the hell do you leave a ball game with a twinge? What the hell's a twinge? And it's April 18th, and you've been playing for how many days? And you got a twinge, and you're missing a game? That was anathema to Jerry, and it was very different from what he lived as a Yankee, and all those players lived from back then. And what got Jerry was back in whatever it was, I don't know if it was the 90s or the 2000s, where suddenly if you pull a muscle on the side, they called it the oblique muscle.
Right.
And they still do. And it's more prevalent in baseball than other sports. And Jerry would rant to me and say, what the hell? You know what? When we played, we didn't have an oblique. I don't know what the hell they're talking about. We must have not had an oblique. It must have been something on that Darwin came up with, that over the years, an oblique suddenly appeared, an oblique muscle. Because I got to tell you, Ted, we didn't have one. We were fresh out of oblique muscles. And if, in fact, you had one and you pulled one, you sure as hell were not sitting down because, like Lad said, back then they had guys at AAA, AA, D ball, B ball, all the way down. Jerry was a D ball. D as in David. In Wellsville, New York, when he started with the Yankees, they had all the way down to D ball, and they had so many players. There was no free agency. They were all there looking for a shot with the majors. So if you think because you had the flu or you pulled an oblique, as Jerry would said, you ain't taking the time off, because you're going to be taking a lot of time off when they call that guy up from AA and he takes your freaking job.
You know, when I first got into broadcasting, Ted, I worked with a guy named Ted. And we shared an office.
Ted Knight?
Ted Leitner never missed a day. I don't remember you ever taking a sick day. Did you ever? You never took a sick day?
That's my mom. That's my father. That's the mentality that your parents and your grandparents, who were immigrants, who came from this country. My parents were not immigrants, but my grandfathers and grandmothers both came from Germany, Austria rather, and St. Petersburg in Russia. And that's why this whole immigrant thing, when I think of my grandparents on that ship passing as
Here. You know what?
Passing the Statue of Liberty, going to Ellis Island and seeing America and all of that, just I get so emotional with how this administration, if you want to call it that, treats immigrants and talks about them. And
Ted, our grandparents and parents who came here did not speak a word of English.
You bet. Right.
And they had a network of friends in the Croatian American community and Slovenian communities in Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
That's why this is such an anathema and such evil cruelty on the part of that frickin' Republican Party. Forgive me. No, don't forgive me. Don't forgive me, because the United States is at stake here. Democracy and freedom is at stake. This is not about politics. So don't send me your friggin' emails about stay in your lane, Ted, stick to sports. We are under attack. Democracy and freedom is under attack. Americans are being beaten up as they're handcuffed. They're being shipped 1,000 miles away and saying, I'm an American citizen, check my ID, shut the hell up. Boom, boom. That's what's going on. And bang, bang. People dying now in Connecticut, Houston, and Florida in the last several days, because that's how these ICE people are trained. They are thugs. They don't have proper training. They're told, hey, we got to meet the quota. It was 3,400. It's 2,000. You people better get me 2,000 a day. That Stephen Miller and the rest of those Nazis give it 2,000 a day to deport. I don't give a goddamn if they got an ID or not. Get them the hell out of here. We got to meet our quota. That's what's going on. That's not American. That's not America. So that's when you mention our grandparents and Ellis Island and all that I just lose my mind. And don't tell me that's politics. If you're not standing up to say these things, then you're not an American, and you're not loyal to your country, and you're not thankful for the great life and freedom that your parents had, their parents had, and you have. End of story. Now,
I agree with Ted. But I'm going to circle back to the World Cup and the intensity we saw on the playing field. It's just incredible to me. Those guys, I wish I had a better appreciation for soccer. I don't know.
They're great.
But I played football, played baseball, played basketball. Did not play soccer. And I understand how gifted they are and how smart they are and how what great shape they're in. And they go down hard, they get right back up. It was an amazing show. And I thought our country did a good job hosting. And I was just in awe, though, at the athletic ability that was on display.
No question. I think I mentioned to you that I have this thing in terms of a fan of some sports, and I've never been a big fan of soccer. It's a little slow for me, but I also mentioned to you that I have an appreciation of greatness, whether it's secretariat or athletes or whatever it happens to be, or entertainers. Like Ray Charles comes to mind, Barbara Streisand comes to mind, my two favorite entertainers, one female, one male. The greatness of them, it just fascinates me. That's why I can't get enough information reading about them and so forth. And the same thing with the greatness of a Bobby Orr, watching him play with the Boston Bruins and thinking, the people who don't really understand hockey, and I'd never broadcast hockey, but do you understand how unbelievably great Bobby Orr was, unbelievably great Gretzky was, and all of these guys, and whatever the sport happens to be. Likewise in football, and you know who was great in football. You played against many of these who were great. I just have a fascination with that. So when I see Cristiano, when I see Ronaldo, when I see Messi, and I actually met Pele one time in Hartford, Connecticut, I'm in awe of greatness. I see the ball handling, and I see the speed, and you mentioned the stamina. It's a joke. It's just a joke. They can run all day long. So it's the old. I used to tease soccer and talk about how slow it was on Channel 8.
They didn't score a lot.
Yeah. Same thing with the hockey. And I did that to have fun with people, and to piss them off and make them watch and all that stuff. It's true. Mea culpa. I had fun with it, and I knew that it kind of ticked people off, and they would watch, and they did watch.
The other thing you would do that I used to laugh out loud, even though I love the sport, and being where I am in San Diego County, I would have exposure to some of the people who were taking part in this sport. It was the sailing, the America's Cup. Ted would show like an 8-second clip, and he'd go, "Yep, there. Now you get the idea. That happened for the next 4 hours, and so won. Okay, what's our next story?"
I used to use that. I used to use the line that Ron Newman, who had a great sense of humor, the coach of the San Diego Sockers, where he told a reporter one time, asked him, we're against soccer. Soccer's kind of new in America, and it's new in San Diego. Is there a basic rule of soccer that we should know? And Ron, with his incredible sense of humor, said, and they're writing this down, they get their little pads and pencils and their notebooks and so forth. And he says, the first rule of soccer is the only rule of soccer. If it moves, kick it. If it doesn't, kick it until it does. So I used to use that one on the air. And it was just, but the play, you watch a Julie V and you watch a Katakalides and all those guys that we saw, I would tease them, like same thing with the goals. I would tease the hockey players. One of my finest moments for myself, they had a Ted Leitner night at the goals, and they gave out Ted Leitner t-shirts.
Nice.
And I was flattered. When I got there and the crowd saw me come in, it was a tremendous boo! This guy hates hockey. Screw him! Boo! It was enormous, and I was laughing. And then when I was walking down to my seat, and the goals were lined up on the bench, but they were standing. And because I had come to face the music, I came to face the goals, and face the players, and talk to the players, and face the fans, let them boo me, and all that. And the players were taking their sticks and banging them on the outside of the bench and pointing at me in tribute that, hey man, this guy, he runs his mouth, but he came here to face us, and we respect him for that. That's and nice. That made me feel so good, and I respected them so much because of that.
Yeah, good point. And you were relentless when it came to but think about some of the people we've interacted with in sailing, which is not your favorite sport, but I enjoyed for a lot of years. Dennis Conner, one of the greatest of all time, America's Cup history. Yeah. And we encountered him in baseball. Your interactions with Tony Gwynn. I mean, just by being here in San Diego. In football, we had a quarterback with the Chargers named Dan Fouts, pretty good.
Oh boy, did we ever!
But a tight end, Kellen Winslow, and a wide receiver, Charlie Joyner. You got to interact with all those guys.
Yeah, I saw greatness. I saw greatness, and I also personally learned from their greatness, and I especially emphasize that in terms of, because I would tease about the salaries and talk about their money and all this stuff, but inside. And I think the ones that knew me knew this, that what athletes go through on several different levels. First of all, like in your sport, the average, say, running back, the average is 4 years of a career, and you're done, and you'll come to your age. And how old were you when you retired from the NFL?
Early 30s, 32.
See, that's the thing. And I always knew this. I'm teasing athletes. They're getting pissed at me. And that's how I had that running war with Kellen Winslow when I said something about the Missouri, from his school in Missouri. And what the hell do you know? about Missouri. No, 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 no. And I just always rubbed them the wrong way. But it made for fun television, and I love these guys, and I love seeing them now because my respect for them was absolutely enormous. And that was the deal, as in, I know how great you are to play at this level. And there are so many out at 4A and 5A high schools in Oklahoma, Texas, and Pennsylvania. These are the greatest, I think, high school football players, and California. You could put all of those I just mentioned in the top 5, I think, in the level of high school football. When they get to Division I, when they're with you at Penn State, it's suddenly, oh my God, look at these guys. They're all as big and as fast and as tough as me, and the game is so fast. And then when I go from Penn State, like you did, to the NFL, it's like, oh my God, now they're 6'4" and 260, and they're running the 4.6 40, and they're arriving really, really pissed when they come to the ball. And
they could care a whit about me. You know, it is so true that jump from high school to college and then college to pros. It's looking back on it, I'm really glad that I was a part of it, but I scratch my head sometime and wonder how the hell did I do that? because that's really good, talented athletes.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing we talked about, that it's all about team. It's all about team. I don't know which coach it was so many gazillion years ago who put on the blackboard, TEAM, and would tell you, whoever it was who said to his team, now, do you see an I in that word? That happened. I don't know the coach, but all coaches have been using it ever since for 100 years. There is no I and there's no we in that word team. So I don't want to hear about me, I, and that goes for all sports. And you worked in that structure, just like the military does. It's not about me. I always tell that story when Trevor went to his first Little League game and he came home and his brother said, how'd you do? Yeah. And he said, I was 2 for 4 with a walk and 2 RBIs. Wow. And I don't know which one it was, but they said, hey, no, man, when we say, how did you do, we mean the team. Always remember that. We mean the team. Don't ever talk about yourself. You're a member of a team. If you've got their backs, you take care of them. They make a mistake, you pick them up, that sort of thing, whatever the sport happens to be. That's what Aztec basketball is all about. The guy loses his man on defense, you switch, you take him. And then if he loses his man, then the center, Goon, is back there, or Nate is back there patrolling, and he's going to be there to block the shot. They're picking up their teammate. It's all about team. And people think that's a cliche. Once again, like Ali said, if it's true, it ain't a cliche. Yeah. And that's what you grew up in. So you never talked about how, hey, I'm in the NFL. I am terrific. I am this, I am that. It's all about surviving. Yeah. It's surviving, staying healthy, because it's almost impossible to do it more than a few years. And I'm sure you need to look back, but your ego won't let you, to look back and think, I did one hell of a thing. I played in the National Football League with the best of the best.
Yeah, 10 years. So, Ted, but I have to tell you a quick story about my high school team.
Sure.
Senior year, football, 08-1. That O is for 0 wins, 8 losses, and 1 tie. Did I ever tell you this story? No. I played every down on offense and defense. We only had 20 guys on the team. And I was like the starting fullback or halfback or tight end, whatever week it was. And the whole season, I scored 1 point. I scored an extra point. And I played every down on offense. And the extra point is in the game we didn't lose. We tied 7-7. And it was like, you can't make this up. We won 08-1. I played every down on offense, and I scored 1 point. It was in the game we didn't lose.
Was this regular football or 8-man football?
Yeah, it was 11-man football. And we had 15 guys on the team. You played.
Small towns in Oklahoma played 8-man football because they don't have enough guys.
I know. So you were a high school football player.
Yes.
And your experience was positive?
It was positive. I loved it beyond anything I have ever done in my childhood. And there was history involved because the high school was right down the block from our apartment. My 2 oldest brothers had played there, one in the late 50s and the other 2 years before me. And all I ever wanted to do was wear that red uniform for Roosevelt High School in Yonkers, New York.
What's your mascot?
Oh my God.
Wait, what's your mascot?
Mascot would be the Indians, but that's changed because of Native Americans and sensitivity and so forth, just like the Washington Redskins. So I believe now they're the Sharks. They're the Sharks, but we were the Roosevelt Indians. And we had a great song called Cherokee that they would play that we would go crazy when we would hear it. The normal song that you would hear. And dun 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 dun, and the coach would always say, "Play Cherokee when the guys come out. I want them fired up. I want them." And that was, we had a fight song, and it was on. It was stolen from another song, but it was on Roosevelt down the field, on down the field. I hear that now, and I get tears in my eyes. That's how much I loved that school. I just loved it. I was there. I visited many, many times. The great writer David Halberstam, who wrote The Best and the Brightest about Vietnam and others, he went to that school. He was older than me and went there. Richard Masser, who was a great actor and became president of the Screen Actors Guild, he went there. He was on my football team. And I loved everything about it. Everything about it. But for my sophomore year and my junior year, no freshmen went there. They went to a junior high. 3 years in that high school. I was about 5'6" and 150 pounds. Wow. And I got both years. I got cut from the varsity to the JV, to the junior varsity.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't big enough, wasn't fast enough. But then after that second JV year, I said, damn it. And I told the coach, you're not cutting me again. And he said, well, that's up to you. I said, I know that. It's all up to me. And I appreciate you putting me on the JV. You could have cut me entirely, and I would have had to leave all my friends and walk up the hill after school every day and not go to football practice. And coach,
can't do that.
His name was Hank Monaco, and I loved him dearly. He died a couple of years ago. And I said, Coach, thank you for seeing some promise in me and letting me not have to go home. I would have died inside every day if I had to walk home and sit in the apartment and not be at football practice. And I would have had too much pain to sit there and watch my buds play football and practice. I even love practice. You know, I'm no Allen Iverson. Practice? I'm talking practice.
Well, look at that good guy.
What are we talking here? We're talking practice. That's what you're criticizing me for, practice? But I loved every practice, everything. I loved it so much. And then I worked out like a maniac. And I took these pills called Hoffman high protein pills that were like horse pills, really big. I was idiotic. I had no idea what I was taking. But I saw an ad for them in the back of a comic book, I think, literally, or a men's magazine, a men's health magazine. And I took these pills every day and worked out after school every day in the off season when football was done. And I went from 5'6" to 6 feet ½ inch. And I went from 150 to 190 pounds.
Wow.
And now I could have some size and was strong. And I went to training camp. We shouldn't be talking about this guy's in the NFL for 10 years. He's all conference at Penn State. We're talking about a schmuck like me in my little high school thing. That's stupid. But it shows if you love it and you stay with it and you work hard, that something can happen. And I had that work ethic shown me by my mom.
Yeah.
You're sick, but she went to work anyway, literally in blizzards, snowstorms, ice, sleet, hail in New York. And so now I'm dedicated, and now I work out. Why I didn't get that the years before that, and thought that I would be able to do that, I have no idea. So with that, finally, I make the varsity. I'm in practice for that camp before my senior year, and my teammates elect me captain. One of the great moments of my life, to go from cut to the JV to elected a captain. And I was having a good training camp, a lot of big hits, a lot of sacks and so forth. We didn't call them sacks back then.
No.
Didn't call it blitzing back then. Remember? They called it Red Dog. Remember?
Yes.
It's been so long that young people have never heard these things. But when my football giants that I lived and died for, it was all about he's coming on the dog. He's coming on the dog. Outside linebacker is coming on the dog, meaning he's a red dog. The red dog meant a blitz in later vernacular. And sacks, there were no sacks.
Think about the amount of effort that went into us becoming a part of the team and then having the success we had on the field. I can understand why my parents and my brother and my sisters, they wanted me to be involved in sports as they had been, because of the lessons you learn. And those are just valuable lessons you learn. And you want to get something done in football, do it yourself. That's how you get something done. You get in better shape. You get smarter. You get more adept. You have a better understanding of what's happening all around you. And that's how you become better. And that's a great lesson to take into life. Nobody's going to hand it to you. Nobody's going to hand you anything.
Yeah. And I don't mean to make this podcast a class. And I'm no teacher, but you lived it. You lived it. I had a microcosm of it. I did not play college ball. I intended to walk on at Oklahoma State. And immediately, thank God, because I was not quick enough. I was not fast enough. But at my size at that time, at 6 foot, a half inch, and 190, there were starters on the line at Oklahoma State defensively. My size, right. So it wasn't going to be size, but the quickness of the Oklahoma high schools and the quickness of those guys. And I was lucky that the head of the radio TV department told me, "Hey, are you any good?" I said, "I'm okay, but I'm not great." And he said, "Well, the guy who does the play-by-play on the campus radio station for football and basketball, Steve O'Neill, he's a senior. Why don't you quit football, work with him, and if you're any good, he'll take over when Steve graduates this year."
Wow.
That started my first break to become a broadcaster.
That's amazing.
It was wonderful, wonderful. I owe that to the late Bob Lacey, who was the head of the radio TV department, a former country singer named Greg Martin. His name was Greg Martin, played country music, became a professor, and I love him dearly. And I owe him and his assistant, Jack Deskin, so much for the opportunities they gave me. Yeah. So, but Jim's right. These are sports stories. These are broadcast stories, but they apply to everybody in a free country that we still are, last time I checked, but under threat, but a free country that you can, in fact, do that. You can. Military teaches that. Same thing. It's not about you. It's about the team. It's about your squad. It's about the Marines. It's about the Army.
And a woman next year.
And it's everybody right. And you have their back. And we see stories like that of guys.
And what bothers me, what concerns me so much is that I think at the top of our food chain now, we don't have maybe somebody who understands what the whole teamwork and sacrifice and all that meant to development as a leader, as a compassionate person.
Yeah, I was talking about this. Yesterday. Who was it with? I don't remember. But I mentioned to him, doctor. I had a doctor appointment, and we were talking about that. And I said, if I owned a business and I did the interviewing, I wouldn't want to discriminate against anybody, but what I'd be really looking for to hire are ex-military and ex-athletes, because they've already got this foundation that we're talking about team, mission, one for all for one. They're all cliches and it's rah-rah stuff, but it's all correct and it's all works in practice. So if I get a military guy, if I get an athlete, he's already into the team. All I have to do is teach him to sell my product, and I know that he can do that because he's smart. He's got courage, in either one, professional athletes and military. And so half the battle is already done. I don't need to motivate this guy. He's a former Marine. He's a former soldier, sailor. He already got that. I just got to teach him how to sell the widgets or whatever the hell we're selling, and fit within our basic model of business, our business model. And you can't go wrong with former. Okay.
I'm going to swerve a little bit here, Ted. I'm going to swerve a little bit here. And
swerving, look out.
Educate me on the Padres. How good are they? Is this a legitimate?
What is it, the transition or what?
No, but I know we're running out of time, and I'm like,
we're running out of time.
Should I be jumping up and down? Should I be jumping up and down about the Padres?
I have I'm on the fence. I'm on the fence.
Okay.
And I say that because I'm not there. I'm not there as I was every day. I don't follow it like I used to, and I don't follow baseball like I used to. And I go to games when the Padres invite me, which as an ambassador they did regularly. Now they do it once in a while, and I appreciate that very much. I get invited from friends who have suites, friends who have great seats. I've never seen a baseball game. I've never watched a baseball game in a great seat.
Yeah.
I've been in the upper regions of stadiums across the country, or stadia, if you want to be snobby, stadia, yeah, plural. And those are way up there. Some are way up there, like in Washington and Atlanta, and so forth. And it's really a bad seat. Some are a little bit lower, a little bit better, but there's not good seats for radio booths and press boxes. And so
Price is right, though.
Yeah, right. You get in free and you get paid. Hell of a deal. And when I was a kid, we had no money. So we either sat in the bleachers for 50 cents in Yankee Stadium, or we sat in the upper deck, which we thought was really cool. The upper deck, way up there, and huge Yankee Stadium. But for $1.20 a seat, you could be in row 3 in the upper deck right behind home plate. We thought that was great, but it was still a long way away. So I've never seen Major League games in the seats that my friends have. It's unbelievable. I'm right there by the guy on the on-deck circle. I got a note in front of me, and I'm in row 2, and I'm in row 8 because they have great seats. And I'm thinking, this is a great novelty. I enjoy this. Thank you so much, because I've never seen a ball game this close up. It's like I'm a brand new baseball fan. It's wonderful. So I go. But to answer your question, I'm not in the clubhouse. I'm not talking. I don't need a manager to tell me off the record, this guy is, this guy, I think we're going to do better than that. I used to get that from the managers, all of them. If it was off the record, I kept it off the record.
Yeah.
But then I could obliquely, go around and give my opinions based on the information they're giving me, but I don't have contact with them. And honestly, I don't even have a pass now. I don't get in the press box, and I don't get in the clubhouse. I haven't seen Craig Stammen all year. I haven't seen Manny or Tati, guys I love. I haven't seen them all year. So I don't have the guys to talk to then pass it on to the fans, even off the record without naming my sources, because I'm not an ambassador. I'm not with the club. So it's a good question, Jim, and I don't know the answer. And but I do know this. I'll leave you with this. Yeah. A lot of mediocre teams, a lot of teams lesser than them when they're healthy, and without Nick and without Musgrove, that's asking a lot to begin with. And the lineup doesn't scare anyone. We know that. Doesn't have enough power. It went nuts the other day, 19-2. It was lovely. I had a great time. But it is not a lineup that scares you. It ain't the Phillies and teams and lineups like that. So with that in mind, you can still be a wild card. You can still get in. Once you get in, who the hell knows when you get hot, how far you can go. Wild cards have won the World Series more than once. So I do have optimism based on a lot of average teams out there, and I think the Padres are better than many of them.
Wouldn't you say the key to a wild card getting hot and winning it all is pitching?
Of course.
If you have 3 or 4 arms, you've got a chance.
Baseball's pitching. It's always been that way. It's always been that way. That's the old Yogi Berra. The baseball is 90% pitching, and the other 50% is hitting. Yogi wasn't great with math. That's okay, but that's a true story. A lot of those yogis I give you some inside stuff.
Yeah,
because Joey Aragiola was a very, very close friend, and he and Yogi were friends since the time they were 7 years old.
Yeah,
and lived on the same block in St. Louis.
Wow.
As Joe used to say, because Aragiola was a catcher, not a great one, but he had a major league career, and Joe would always say, "Best catcher." Joe said, "I wasn't even the best catcher on my block." Because Yogi was 2 houses down, and Yogi didn't look like an athlete. Yogi didn't look like a baseball player, but God Almighty, could Yogi play baseball?
Yeah.
He was simply amazing. When he came back from World War II in his sailor uniform, he still had a sailor uniform on after being discharged, but he wore it to the ballpark that first day, opening day, when he'd come back from World War II. And they had a new guy at the gate there at the player entrance, and they didn't know who Yogi was. And Yogi's in his uniform, and he won't let him in. and Yogi doesn't have his major league ID to show him, and it's just a comical thing. I'm sorry, sir, I can't let you in. I'm Yogi Berra. I don't know who that is. So he sees this guy later, and the guy found, obviously somebody came up and said, that's our catcher, man. He's a great player. He could be a Hall of Famer. That's Yogi Berra. Oh, okay, I didn't know. And so Yogi goes up to that guy, according to Joe. Yogi goes up to the guy afterwards and said, hey, you didn't think I was a ball player, did you? And the guy said, hell, I didn't even think you were a sailor. Because Yogi's this big, and he's got these long arms, but he was just made to play baseball. He could hit like crazy. He could chase out of the strike zone. You know, they have all those metrics now. Does he chase? Is he staying within his zone? All that stuff.
Yeah.
Dugout to dugout.
Look at that.
There's Lawrence Peter Berra. May you rest in peace. What a wonderful man. I was privileged to know him, and he was such a great player. No, he didn't look like it. You know, and back in the old days of bench jockeying, as they call it, smack talking they call it now, but bench jockeying then, it was a big part of baseball. It's not now, unless you piss off a team and they're yelling something specifically at you for something you did. But they would hang, they would grab the top of the dugout and they would hang and go like a monkey, and talk about throw a banana on the field. Because Yogi, they thought, looked like a monkey, and they would get on him all the time. They would get on him, and it was vicious. It was vicious. So you can extrapolate that to what Jackie Robinson put up with 1947 when he went in, and all the things they were doing with him in terms of color and despicable discrimination. But Yogi had a lot of that crap and was just the most easygoing guy. But oh my God, what a ball player! What a ball player!
How tall was he? How tall was he?
He was about 5'8", I believe. Yeah, but he had a great seat, as they call it, just like Johnny Bench. They had a great seat where they just fit so comfortably in the catching position, and they were just so comfortable doing that. And Johnny Bench had hands, this big, and just fantastic. He was just born. I think Yogi was great. I think Johnny's the best I ever saw, and the best that ever played. Johnny told me one time that he had, I don't mean to be dropping names, I was in baseball. I was fortunate to be around these incredibly great men, mentally tough, incredibly talented. And Johnny had a rookie pitcher in spring training in Florida, and who was really in love with his fastball. And his fastball, they didn't have guns back then. It might have been 90, 92, whatever. And so he's shaking Johnny off during the spring training game. Okay, kid. First of all, you're a rookie. You don't shake Johnny Bench off. He puts down a number. That's what you throw. But nobody taught you that, so now you're going to get taught that. Yeah. So he keeps shaking off all the off-speed stuff. He wants to go back to his beloved fastball at a red-hot 90 miles an hour, maybe. So Johnny finally, after he gets shaken off, he puts down number one fastball, and this guy delivers his fastball, and Johnny catches it with his bare hand instead of his mitt.
Wow.
Just to show this guy, boom, time. Johnny gets up and he walks out there and he said, "You see that?" "Yes, Mr. Bench. I can catch your fastball with my bare hand. You ain't scaring nobody. So when I call for a pitch, the rest of your time with the Reds, I don't know how long that's going to be, I put the number down. You throw that goddamn pitch. You hear me?"
Yeah.
"Yes, sir. Yes, sir."
Yeah. That reminds me of the scene in Bull Durham where was it Bull Durham where he goes out to the mound. He goes out to the mound and says, "Hey, Meat, throw me a fastball." And the catcher, it's his name, the actor, walks back and tells the batter, "It's gonna be a fastball inside. You hit this one out, will you please?" He does, because he wants Meat to listen to him. "Hey, Meat, you got to listen to me."
That's right. Many times catchers would think this kid needs a lesson. This kid needs a lesson. It's spring training. What the hell? They'll tell the batter it's fastball. Fastball in coming. Hits it a mile. You wanted a lesson for this pitcher. Yep. You think that pitch is a really good pitch? You've been shaking me off on other stuff all day long. You want to go get that pitch? Go get that pitch and see if he'll sign it for you. Go get that ball and see if that guy will sign it for you after hitting it 700 feet. Now, don't shake me off again.
Exactly. There's such a richness in baseball and professional football. If you look past the blunt force, but in baseball, there's artistry to it. I mean, just the way there's a choreography too that is. I don't know. It's more sublime than you see in football. Football is, you smash
no question, totally different.
But past, you think about pass coverage and or blitzes and reverses and offense, things like that. There's intricate plays and things like that. But it's so subtle in baseball. But people who do it really well understand how those subtleties work.
Yeah.
Use it to their advantage and help make us more entertained watching the game. It's just incredible.
Amen, brother. And there's so many levels of baseball. There's so much it's like opening up a whatever.
An
onion, whatever you want to call it. But there's so many levels and the unwritten rules and the written rules and all those. I loved it so much. When I first started, I might have mentioned, I don't know, that my favorites when I started, I was just a football and basketball play-by-play guy. But when Jerry Coleman went from the booth to become the manager in 1980, and I got the broadcast job and started with the Padres, my favorites in terms of the play-by-play were football, basketball, and baseball. But then through the course of my career, toward the last 10, 15 years, it was baseball first, basketball second, and football third. Baseball is so rich, the tradition, the stories, the humor, and then even when the internet was invented, and there was so much information, so many stories, and so many great connections online that you could read about from generation to generation, I just felt deeper in love with baseball. And the same thing about the teaching a guy a lesson. I was with Jerry Coleman and Ted Williams, and I forget where exactly we were. And Ted Williams was telling us a story how this young pitcher had struck him out in a major league game, not spring training, struck him out. Yeah. And he came to him after the game. And you have to know Ted Williams, this booming voice. And
it was Ted Williams.
Oh, my God. I mean, just that big and tough and just, whoa. And did not suffer fools gladly. So this rookie pitcher comes to him with a ball and a pen after the game and says, "Mr. Williams, this is the ball I struck you out with." And I remember it was a relief pitcher. I don't remember his name, but not a starter. It was a relief pitcher, and I don't remember what team, playing against Boston. "Would you sign this for me?" And Ted kind of looked at him, gave him that death stare, and then, all right. And signed it. Now, 2 games later in the same series, he comes up against the same guy out of the bullpen and hits one 90 feet to Williamsburg, as they called it, in right center field at Fenway Park. And as Ted is rounding the bases, he yells to him, "Hey, go get that ball. Get that sumbitch. I'll sign it for you too." And that guy wouldn't look at Ted. He would not look at Ted, rounding the bases with those big loping steps that he would take. And I just love that one. Yeah, I'll give you an autograph. See if you can go find it. Go find it. I'll sign it.
So the salute to champions dinner at the Hall of Champions Hall of Fame. I would MC it for a while, and one year I was sitting next to Ted Williams, and I'm having dinner with Ted, and it's just the two of us. He's talking away, and there were 2 rows, and so we were in the back row, so people really couldn't get to Ted. And he would say to me, "If anybody come up here looking for an autograph, would you try to just shoo him away?" It was nice of him to be there. And then another time, I was invited to MC an event, and I'm sitting next to Joe DiMaggio. Ted, I was unbelievable.
Joe DiMaggio, the jolter, as Jerry called him. The jolter.
It's like, did I really just have dinner with Joe DiMaggio? And it was like, I just sat next to Ted Williams for 3 hours and we chatted away. It was like, we were so lucky to be able to encounter these people and to spend time with them. And
yeah, I talk to young people all the time in classes and groups and all that. And I say the money was really beyond anything I ever dreamed of. My first job as the weekend sports guy and then becoming the weekday guy in Oklahoma City, I made $5,000 a year. Yeah. And I used to come in to do the Sunday night sports extra for $15, and that would get me just above $6,000 for the year. So the money was, I'd never cared. It was fine. I loved the work, and I was able to actually make good money later. So I was a double whammy, and in San Diego with great weather and great people and all that stuff. But part of it was, who the hell was I and am I to be interviewing, meeting my heroes when I was a kid, and do these things and meet these people, not just athletes, but war heroes, Medal of Honor winners that I've been to, a ceremony that I emceed up by the Soledad Cross years ago for Bill Kellogg of the Kellogg family that owns the San Diego Tennis Club and so forth. Bill's a longtime friend, and he asked me to come up there, and there were several Medal of Honor winners that I'm talking to. Guys, combat. And you know how you get the Medal of Honor? You can't be told, hey, you, Bill, get a machine gun and go out there and do it. It has to be totally on your own, above and beyond the call of duty. Nobody gives you the order. You do it on your own. That's the only way you can get the Medal of Honor. And these guys decided, I'm bleeding, I got bullet holes in me, but I'm going to go and protect my guys and keep firing and firing. Those are the Medal of Honor winners. That's why when President Harry Truman was pinning one on in the Oval Office to a Medal of Honor winner, he famously leaned over and said, son, I'd rather wear this medal for a day than be president of the United States. Congratulations.
Wow.
The people we have, the military we have. And then Jerry always taught me, it wasn't just back then, it wasn't just us when we fought. It's these guys and these women right now who put it on the line and die for their country, even though their commander-in-chief doesn't get that. General Milley, what did these guys die for? What the hell was in it for them? This is an actual conversation by this lunatic. Can't grasp that. Died for their country. What? Is there a lot of money involved? No, Mr. President. It's their sacrifice because they love their country. And their country called and they answered. Oh, they're losers and suckers. That's where that story came from General Milley and from General Kelly. 4-star generals. Going to believe them or what's his name? And so, like you say, to be in a business where you're meeting captains of industry, these brilliant businessmen who failed, but then they kept going. Like Henry Ford used to say, failure is a great opportunity to go do it again and do it better, that kind of a thing. I mean, he was a piece of shit, but by the same token, he was an anti-Semite. He hated Jews, he hated blacks, he hated Latinos, he hated women. Henry Ford was a bad man, but he was a brilliant architect of what this country became and what they did. And like you said, to have been in it,
I
thank God every day. I do want to.
No, real quick, Ted.
Yeah,
real quick. We're talking about military. My neighbor at one point was Admiral Jack Shaw. He's passed now. He's been gone a number of years. He was a terrific guy, and I have to point that out because he was not a very good golfer. But we'd play golf together, and cool. He was awful. And so we go out and we play, and he finally beats me. And like a month later, he passed away. And I said, Admiral Jack, you have bragging rights for the rest of the time on my golf game. And I'm sure he got a smile out of me wherever he was. But I have to point out that Admiral Jack was a terrific, smart guy. Naval Academy, #1 in his class, or 2 or 3, whatever.
That gets my attention.
Yeah. Since we're talking about the military, I had to bring up Admiral Jack and thank our military for what they're doing today.
They're all special. They're all so incredibly special. They have so much to teach us, so much to learn. I was in the owner's suite for a game this year, and I saw a guy in a wheelchair, and he looked at me, and I knew he recognized me, but I didn't recognize him. I hadn't seen him in a long time. It was General Mike Neal, who had been the commandant at Camp Pendleton, who had been a big-time war hero in Vietnam. And there was a book about Mike. And Mike was very close to John Moores and all of us at the Padres. And now Mike is in a wheelchair. And I just saw this warrior, this incredible Marine warrior, this brigadier general. But age has gotten to him like it does to everybody, like it gets to every athlete. And it's kind of like the equalizer. But to me, it's not an equalizer because Mike will always be a better man than me, who attained a higher level in this country, for his country, and for the Marine Corps, and to be exposed to these kind of people. I wish every young people had a chance, every young person had a chance to be able to be with the people we have, and the athletes, like I said, and these baseball players that like with Trevor. Hey man, that's the first blown save in a long time. What blown save? What are you talking about? And this was not a game. I've seen this with Clayton Richard. It was the same way. Your arm okay? What's wrong with my arm? Well, a buddy says it's injured. No, I'm not injured. I'm never injured. That's the thing I talked about between hurt and injury. Clayton Richard, just like Junior Seau, would never show up for treatment because nobody else was around. These are the kind of people all of us, young and old, can learn from. If I can spend just 60 seconds of my time here with you here, on behalf of those of you, I had a call from a friend of mine 2 days ago and said, my hearing aids are not that great. And I said, I had a couple of different types of hearing aids and they were not that great. And it drove me crazy, and I had to bring them in a lot to be worked on. And I got lucky. And a company called Beltone out in La Mesa, the CEO there, Jason, called me, and actually it was direct DM. Is that what they call it? DM, direct message? Direct message to me, if that's a verb, and said, would you consider doing some work with me in advertising for my company? And I said, sure. And so I went out there, and we talked about my hearing, and he gave me the top of the line of his Beltone, which was so much better than what I had. And then he called me in a year or two later and said, now I've gone from Beltone to Star Key. Wait till you hear these. It's like a symphony orchestra. And I sent a friend of mine there yesterday, and that was his comment. Oh my God, it is so great. And it's wired into my phone, and I can adjust the volume. I can adjust what I'm listening to, whether it's music, whether it's just talking to somebody, whether it's a restaurant, where it will adjust the ambient noise of the diners, and just I can focus on the people in my seat, my table. If you're struggling, don't struggle. Don't be like me in 2 years. I don't wear hearing aids. Who's gonna get chicks? They use the 60s term. That's going to be worse. In the 50s, Sinatra and those guys called them broads. Broad. Talking about insulting. I'm going to give me a broad. Then it became a chick. And then the Beatles said bird. I'm going to give me a bird. You can't do that with hearing aids sticking out. If you don't use them, your brain will be much more apt to get dementia.
Easy name to remember, Ted. Star Key.
Star Key. Star Key. You tell them Jack Laz and Uncle Teddy sent you. Star Key, in this case, at Beltone La Mesa at gmail.com.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
You out there who stuck with us, thank you. And Ted, it's always good to see you, pal.
Good to see you. What time is it? We done? We got a few minutes. We started at 2 minutes after 4. We got 6 minutes. We have 6 minutes to do something. And you know I'm fascinated with, by the way, I mentioned to you my fascination with greatness.
Wait. Why am I not surprised you have one more thing you could say?
It is that way, isn't it? I know. I am obnoxious.
Please.
I am obnoxious. It's not a big brain. It's a very slow brain, but it does trigger things that are on my mind. And looking at greatness, I've been watching a lot of the YouTube clips of The Sopranos, and I find, not just because he's gone, several things about James Gandolfini, who I never met. East Coast guy, Jersey guy. I'm a Jersey guy too. And listening to his colleagues talk about him and watching him act. And he was not the original first choice to be Tony Soprano. The guy who played Jackie Aprile looked like he had the inside track to be Tony Soprano. But then they auditioned Gandolfini, and he had that much more explosive, which he had in real life, by the way. He had anger problems, and I don't know if that had anything to do with his heart attack or whatever that took him, but he was so explosive, so magnificent. But it's not that greatness that is in my mind. It's reading about him and hearing about him. You know who I met? I was on a flight And I happened to be in first class for this flight because it was on Channel 8's dime. And it was in my
you didn't pay for it.
It was in my Channel 8 contract that I could fly first class whenever I went to sporting events. So I'm going where I'm going, and Steve Sharippa is in the seat right in front of me. You know who Steve Sharippa is? He's Bobby Bacala, Big Bobby. Bobby Baclieri. I think that's what it was. They called him Bobby Bacala. The big guy who played with his train set and was married to Tony's sister and all that stuff. And he's 400 pounds. Now, the day before, I was in Costco down on Marina Boulevard, and Steve Sharippa's brother comes up to me and recognized me and introduced himself. I said, hey, oh, you're Steve's brother. And he's not a big guy like Steve. And so we talked, and it was cool to meet another Jersey guy. So now Steve Sharippa's in front of me. So he leans back his seat, but then his inertia of the 400 pounds is leaning back on my knees. He's crushing my knees with his seat. So I'd introduced myself to him, and I came on and said, I met your brother just yesterday. What are the odds? I met him at Costco, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, great. Hey, nice to meet him. And now I'm saying, hey, Steve, you comfortable? I'm good. I'm good. That's not working. He's not getting the hint. Steve, you're all the way back on your seat, but now your weight is moving the seat back into my knees. And he says it again. No, I'm good. I'm good. So what the hell am I going to do? What am I going to do? Get up and have a duke it out with this 400-pound Steve Sharippa? Bobby Bacala? What can I possibly do? So I just basically kind of scrunch up my knees, and I suffered the last, 2 hours of this flight. 2 hours of this flight. But what we were talking about during the flight was Gandolfini and how generous he was to his colleagues, that when they picked up the Sopranos for the second year, and by then, man, he was Tony Soprano. He was it. There was no chance they could jerk him around, which they did, by the way. There's Steve Sharippa right there. Big fella. Thanks for being so nice on the plane, except for busting my knees. You could have busted my stones, but you busted my knees. But I'm okay. I've recovered. And then Steve was telling me that when they were early on, when they were negotiating with Gandolfini, they were really playing hardball with him. So much so they sent emails to all the rest of the cast not to talk to him, not to take his side against HBO, that we're in negotiations. These are serious, and you want to have a job and you want the Sopranos to go on, you better not side with Gandolfini against us, or we'll just cancel this damn thing, which was total bullshit from A1. They're making so much from the jump that there's no way. So eventually they give in and they give Gandolfini a huge contract, because they can't have a show with a brand new Soprano, a brand new Tony. It's going to be Gandolfini. He knew it. His agent knew it. That's the way it goes in Hollywood. So Gandolfini signs this big new contract, and he has his production company. He forms a production company that will produce the Sopranos episodes. So in essence, HBO will pay his company, and he'll pay the cast and so forth out of his production company. That's what's done many, many times. He shows up on set with his new contract signed, with a check for each of his colleagues in the cast for $30,000, just because he wants to. And he makes them all partners, equal partners in Gandolfini Productions that's going to be doing the shows. So now they're going to make this $30,000 just as a thank you guys for your support. And now he's going to give them as money every month as co-owners of his production company, on top of the salary that he's paying them that they've negotiated with HBO.
It sounds a little bit like you, Ted, because you made me a partner. As soon as you signed me up for this, you made me a partner. It's
kind of a roundabout partner thing, but I understand. I appreciate that. I do. I appreciate that.
50-50.
I just love people who are like that don't have to do that, right, and don't publicize it. Didn't do interviews about it. He just showed up, and they said he was the most humble, wonderful, generous guy of all time, with, I believe, the greatest single line. And we can talk about this next week, about great single lines, when he's with Dr. Melfi, the psychiatrist, who I thought was always very sexy. Very sexy. and he's talking about his troubles in bed with Carmela, and she asks him, and this was an ad lib. This was an ad lib, according to David Chase, who was a great writer who created the show, produced the show, and wrote. And she says to him, "Well, Anthony, haven't you had a prostate exam?" And he leans toward her and says, "Hey, I don't even let somebody wave their finger in my face. No prostate exam." That was an ad lib. So if you ever see that episode again, she laughs out loud because she didn't expect it. And that's why he did it. The other one I'll let you in, then we'll go. The scene where they're going out to the pine barrens of New Jersey to find these Russians. And Bobby Bacala, here's Bobby again, Steve Sharippa, to break Gandolfini up. If you recall that episode, this 400-pound guy comes on with this giant orange hunting suit. Remember? Giant orange hunting suit and a rifle, and this Elmer Fudd crazy little hunting hat. And what you didn't see was that he had opened his zipper and taken out this like 2-3 foot, almost 3 feet long rubber.
Yes, whatever.
Yes, very phallic. And he stuck it in his pants. There's Dr. Melfi right there. Very sexy person. I interviewed her ex-husband one time on my talk show. Remember James Edward Olmos, who was on Miami Vice?
Yeah.
Great interview, great guy. I had him on my talk show. That's her ex-husband. We didn't talk about her at that time. She wasn't on TV yet. And so when they take that scene where Bobby Bacala walks into the room and he's got this giant thing sticking out of his zipper, Gandolfini, if you see his reaction, he bends over and just gets hysterical. And they kept that in there because it looked like he was laughing at Bobby's stupid hunting outfit, but what he was laughing at was the giant schwanz that was sticking out.
And on that note, thank you so much for being with us.
We're taking the high ground of good, clean fun. I thank you for being with us. And anything else? We're good? We're fine?
Covered it. Thanks, Ted.
I appreciate it. I say again, if you'd like me to do something for you in terms of messaging for someone's birthday, anniversary, what have you, go to see Teddy at cameo.com, and I will record that, send it with your audio, video, whatever, to your mom, your friend, your grandpa, whatever. It's very fun, a lot of fun, a lot of fun, a lot of emotion. I'm really enjoying that. Thank you for those who've already asked me to do that, and for those who will, to Jim Laslavic, to our producer Joe Nelson. I'm Ted Leitner. Thank you so much. And very little politics at the beginning, not another word, 98% sports, home, showbiz, all that stuff. We got enough depressing politics to worry about. And hopefully we will prevail. We will win. Just like they say at Aztec basketball, I believe that we will win. And this democracy will not be changed on our watch. No damn way. Thank you so much.